Welcome to Coach Connect Hub and our weekly training. This week we have Phil Hammond, our sales expert. And Phil, I'm going to just let you take it away. And anyone who has questions, feel free to put them in the chat and save them to the end of Phil's presentation. And once we stop the recording, then we'll take questions and we'll put Phil on the hot seat. So welcome, Phil, and thank you for taking your time to be here with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I really appreciate you putting this together, and special thanks to everyone that's joined. I'll try and make the next 2 to 3 hours worth your time. So appreciate you being here. To kick things off, I thought I'd give you a little bit of the highlights about me. The Coles Notes version shouldn't take very long. I did spend 25 years in the corporate world, the last 15 or so at the vice president of sales and business development and chief revenue officer levels. But after the pandemic period, I knew I personally needed a change, and I just didn't want to go do the same thing somewhere else. I'd seen the struggles and challenges faced by my friends and neighbors who owned companies. Those who got through that period really needed help getting back into more sustainable growth mode. I knew I didn't want to go back to my corporate life of hotels, airplanes, and even boardrooms and shareholder meetings. So I decided I wanted to help companies on Main Street and not corporations on Bay Street or Wall Street. So I had a rather uncomfortable discussion with my CEO, and was well supported there. Probably a little less so at home. My wife thought I was nuts, but it's all worked out very well. So I left my business world and started my company called Integrated Sales Execution Group, where we focus on helping businesses in the SMB space scale and prosper both now and, more importantly, into the future through building sales infrastructure, sales processes, and providing fractional sales leadership actually within our clients. I also became a certified sales leader and an advisor with Sales Acceleration. Today, I'm going to share with you what I've learned about how owners in this SMB space are currently feeling about their company's sales efforts. And more importantly, I'll share what they need to do to fix it. And it's especially important if they want to create a business that is a sellable asset for when it's time for them to take on the next challenge or sell their company or retire, that sort of thing. So as Sam mentioned, any questions along the way, please feel free to throw them into the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them at the end of this. And if I can't answer it, I will get you the answer. That's my commitment. So we'll kick it off. One of the many great reasons I affiliated myself and my company with Sales Acceleration was the market research they do across North America and Western Europe. And at the beginning of every year, they survey a large portion of owners in the SMB space. And at the beginning or the end of 22, beginning of 23, they surveyed almost 3,700 SMB owners. And the results, frankly, were a little frightening. So just to set the benchmark or baseline, most companies are not doing sales well in the eyes of the owners or the CEOs. In fact, 95% of them are rating themselves below average or even worse. 76%, as you can see, actually give themselves a poor score. So that's not good. So the survey itself that led to those sort of terrible results made up of 48 questions, and it's broken into what I and we at Sales Acceleration consider to be the 4 key areas of any sales infrastructure. That being sales strategy, sales organization, sales methodology, and sales analysis or analytics. And you can all see the different types of sales expertise or things that need to be done within any successful organization that would feed answers into those different categories. So as you can see, the feedback from the owners almost across the board was not very good. And it really speaks to the significant challenge or struggle being faced in every key area of their approach to sales. Not very good. So these are the numbers. But we also have some examples of the comments or what they were saying en masse about their sales situations. So there were some really common themes in the comments that they provided. I'll share some of the gory details with you. Hopefully, if these statements do sound familiar, it's not because you recognize them from your own business, but potentially from some of the companies that you call your clients and who rely on your services to deliver their service. First one, my sales have been declining. 80% of respondents provided this type of feedback, clearly negative. Too much of my revenue comes from only a couple of clients. Now, this never happens overnight. It would be a gradual happening over a few years. You know, they did a great job with that one really important client, and they made up about 25% of their annual revenue. But then that client was so happy that they gave them more business, so now they make up 40% of their revenue. And then they were even more happy and gave them more, and now they're at 50% and so on. So if you try and do that with one and then you add one other big customer, you've got a pretty big exposure problem. And you know that the owners know that this is an issue, and they've known it for a long time, but you know, they just really never got around to doing anything about it because they didn't have time or the resources to do it because they were too busy supporting those small number of clients. So then all of a sudden, one or both of those clients, either they leave due to competition or their business needs change and there's a pivot, and now you've lost that business, and now you've got a huge revenue gap associated with the operational expenses you have, and you've got an even bigger problem. A lot of them say they can't find the right salesperson. That's typically code for you have really high turnover. And you know, the HR professionals on this call will know that any of these businesses in the SMB space who actually have salespeople, you know, they typically were hired very quickly and not onboarded extremely well. You know, the owner expects almost instantaneous sales results. So, you know, tension reigns supreme in these organizations. The owner knows their business and their go-to-market sales strategy inside and out, and they really struggle with this new salesperson or people that have been brought in, and have developed really a why can't everyone just understand this place like I do sort of a mentality. So, you know, these poorly onboarded and poorly led salespeople, they normally move on themselves, or more often than not, they just continue to really struggle mightily and have a negative impact around the office. You know, their mood is not great, and that spreads. So eventually the owner has to do something about it. They have no choice but to eliminate that person. And, you know, hiring people is a big cost. So when you do, you better onboard them right. My sales have been at the same level for the last few years. Simple and straightforward. It's not negative, but it's certainly not positive. If you aren't growing, you're shrinking, because chances are your costs are going up year over year. And at the very least, your revenue growth needs to outrun those financial headwinds of increased operational costs. All of my sales are referrals. Now, I hear this a lot. There's no proactive selling going on. You know, and that sounds great, that all your business is just coming to you. The fish are just jumping into the boat. But what happens when it stops coming to you, or the fish start jumping into other boats or disappear? What do you do then? You don't have any processes in place to help you go and acquire new business yourself. You know, it's like when all your revenue is from referrals, you're aggressively waiting for your phone to ring. You know, and that's not a sales growth strategy. And I see so many owners in networking groups saying things like, 25, it's like having 25 salespeople out there looking for business for me. You know, and what I say to them, it's not really, you know, because there's likely only about 10% of your networking group who really understand what you do and how to refer to you properly and how to introduce you to good potential opportunities. And sadly, you know, even amongst that 10%, they probably aren't giving your business anywhere close to the attention that's needed to scale your business. And they really can't be expected to, because they have their own mouths to feed. The sales team is not following our directives. This is code for there really are no corporate directives. Your sales team is doing whatever they want and you've lost control. And that is if you ever had it. We have a seasoned sales team. I love this one, being a seasoned sales professional myself. You're calling your sales team old and unwilling to change doesn't sound very good, so we call them seasoned. You're not sure who is in charge anymore because you want to go in a different direction, you want to pivot, but they don't want to go with you, and you don't know what to do about it, and they don't know. They have no choice but to incur some rather sizable costs associated with making those changes. I am uncomfortable with the sales team's activity. This is code for I don't really know what their activity level is. And there's many reasons why this could be. And we'll discuss how to not let this happen to you or your clients. So that's all the bad news out of the way. Didn't take long, 11 or 12 minutes. So what should companies be doing? And this is where I come in and what I build, and more importantly, execute to help. So I've got 10 things to share with you that I do, and really in no particular order, although number 1 is, I think, the most important thing. So this is number 10, having weekly sales meetings. Now, sales meetings should include both your entire team together as a group and as individual one-to-one meetings. Your group meeting should be 30 to 60 minutes, and it should focus on only those items that pertain to the entire group. Don't focus on individual issues that would not, be relevant to the whole group. That's just going to bore people. Focus on things like that in your individual meetings. And those one-to-one meetings should not be about compliance. They should be about coaching and helping your salespeople to drive more revenue. If you do have a salesperson who has issues with their activity or the different things that can be predicted to generate success, then the meeting can shift to talk about compliance with requirements of the job. But a true one-to-one meeting with your salesperson should focus on coaching and helping them to be successful. And it's the type of meeting that they will appreciate and frankly should look forward to on a weekly basis. Keep the same general cadence each week so that they can come prepared and they know what to expect in that meeting. And finally, in a lot of importance, any good sales leader should review the CRM first so they are well prepared as well. Number 9, conduct sales training. I know it sounds obvious, but most companies don't do it, especially in this space. Spend time in the field with reps to determine what type of training they need, because you can't just assume that the entire team needs the same training. That's hardly ever the case. Everybody's at a different level. Provide individual training or small group training if that would suit the team's needs a little better. And I've always been a huge proponent of role playing to test for competencies, not to find that they don't know the material, but determine where additional training might be needed. There's so many great sales training modules and coaches out there that are relatively inexpensive that sales training shouldn't be hard to get into small businesses. Number 8, and this, my HR friends will like this one, conduct annual performance reviews. And although we should be in the habit of sitting down regularly to review the progress of all of our employees, the reality is that this quite often doesn't happen. A performance review process ensures that it does. Not only will it give you the chance to review the performance goals, goals can be set for the next year and whatever the next period of time would be. And those goals should be reviewed throughout the year, on at least a quarterly basis. And although you never want to have to put an employee through a performance improvement process or a PIP process, performance reviews kind of set the stage for that to occur. Everybody's on the same page. There should be no surprises when it comes time to review. Number 7, use a customer relationship management tool or a CRM. I'm always astonished at how many companies don't, or if they do have one, it's not being properly utilized. CRMs are vital to record key information. In order to ensure a CRM is being used effectively by your sales team and even others in the company, customize the CRM with your company's unique terms, structure, and terminology. Without doing so, it gives the team an excuse not to use it because it doesn't conform to the way we do things. All information should be kept in that CRM. Call records, proposals, contracts, emails, estimates, and quotes. It's the one place where everyone can go to get information about any opportunity, a closed deal, an old customer, company information, etc. And everybody that at a certain level within the organization should be able to see this information. Really cuts down on the need for chasing people for info. Build a sales pipeline forecasting tool. The CRM we just talked about could be used for this, and quite often should be an important part of at least the initial stages of forecasting. This is where deals closing should be fed into that forecasting tool on a by the when it should be expected to close and how it ramps up and contributes to revenue within the organization. And it's so important because how do you know what money you can spend if you don't know what the future revenue will be? With proper forecasting, you will know that. The key to forecasting is to be accurate, no sandbagging, no optimism, just realism. Make sure your sales team knows that they don't get rewarded for coming in way over their forecast. They get rewarded for coming in right at their forecast, because that tells you that they really understand their business and their clients well. Now, obviously, it's better to come in at forecast if you're over forecast. If you're above quota, if you're forecasting below quota, there's probably better things that you can achieve than just coming in at that sub quota forecast. But certainly it's better to forecast properly and hit it than to demonstrate that you know nothing about what's happening within your own business. I think Chris McPhee's on this call. He'll like right people in the right seat. First of all, a sales team needs to be led by a sales leader or manager. We all said when we were kids that it takes one to know one. Well, we were right. The sales team needs to be structured according to what you need each member to accomplish. Some will grow existing relationships and ensure that those relationships stay strong. Some will be responsible for finding new clients. Those team members are normally somewhat more skilled at selling and are generally better compensated when they achieve their targets. Harder to get a new customer than to grow an existing one, so to speak. And there's a lot of ways to win a game. So how a team is structured depends on what the teams need to accomplish. Who are they targeting, what industries, etc. Proper analysis is needed to determine the right fit for every organization. And yes, sometimes tough decisions need to be made. And if you're going to hit your targets year over year, you may have to make sure that you have the right people on the team, and that might mean making some difficult decisions. Clearly defined sales metrics. Many businesses don't have clearly defined sales goals, and even those that do likely don't have them clearly defined on how they're going to achieve those goals. It'd be like deciding that you were going to train to win or run a marathon, and then haphazardly running various mileages over the months in the hopes that when race day came about, you were just going to magically be able to run a marathon. Those that know me know I'm in no danger of ever running a marathon, but if I were to approach it, I don't think that's how I do it. What needs to happen every day to get your sales reps to their goal? How many meetings, how many phone calls, how many emails, how many proposals need to go out in a week so that they can overachieve their quota? You need to establish for your team what good versus bad looks like. It isn't fair that if you have an opinion on that you don't share it with the team. Everybody needs to know what's expected of them. And frankly, everybody should know, those things that aren't expected of them as well. And figure out what will make you successful before it's too late. Determine what has you crossing that marathon finish line. Sure, a little tired, but you're still healthy. You're not hurt and disappointed or crawling at the 2-mile mark because you didn't train properly, even if you had the time to do so. Number 3, have a documented sales process. You need to determine and document each step of that sales process, and better yet, what's the customer's buying process in your industry and in their vertical. Use that information to customize your CRM. With a buyer's sales process documented, everyone in your company now knows and can use the same terminology, again, enabling more efficient communication. And you'll want to tie specific action items and objectives to each sales stage within that process. And what that means is you've clearly identified what needs to be accomplished at every stage in the process before an opportunity can move to the next stage or the next step. And identify who's responsible for doing what. It might not always be the salesperson, and that will ensure that each opportunity at the same step in the same stage has had the same deliverables achieved within that sales process. Build comp plans that incent the correct behavior. I don't think I'm telling secrets out of school that salespeople really are pretty simple creatures. We take on the activities that make us the most amount of money. Design a compensation plan properly, and you'll ensure that your sales team will exploit that plan exactly as you'd envisioned or hoped. And that's the purest definition of a win-win. When constructing the plan, make sure it is built for the salesperson and the company to win together, but also to lose together if things aren't achieved. Don't build a plan that doesn't have both sides in harmony, because management will want the sales team to do something other than what the sales team wants to do. The sales team is only going to want to do things that lead to them making the most amount of money. So you need to make sure that when they do that, they're in line with the corporate goals. Everybody wins together, every layer of management. And a well-designed compensation plan will help you acquire a better person than frankly you even deserve. And here's what I mean by that. A good salesperson looks at a plan and at a minimum looks at what they will achieve at 100% of goal attainment. But more likely, they look at what they'll achieve and what they'll get compensated when they get to 120%, 140% and beyond. Design a plan with a large upside and you'll get a salesperson who's better than you ever envisioned. Have no cap on a compensation plan. I can't stand it when I see salespeople limited. There's nothing worse than somebody that's achieved their goals in September and really doesn't have to do anything while the rest of the company is trying to achieve year-end numbers. Just has never made sense to me, but I do see it a lot. And quite often, one of the first conversations I have with a CEO or an owner is, are you comfortable with the most successful salespeople in your company making the most money in the business? And that includes you, Mrs. or Mr. Customer. So, having the best compensation plan is key to having the best and retaining the best salespeople. And finally, and probably most important, create a detailed sales business plan each year. You'll have a greater chance of hitting your goal if you have one. Having a business plan is the first step. Then putting it in writing is next. And last, and make sure you do this, share it with other people in the business. It shouldn't be a secret, and it shouldn't be something you just pull out of your drawer once or twice a year. It's a lot like our discussion regarding the marathon. Without a sales business plan, it's like going out on vacation without a map or an itinerary and no earthly idea where you're going. That'd be like going on vacation with me. You need the following to be in it, and it'll certainly vary by company, but it's got to surround the team and the company's goals, and it should be broken down by product or service and vertical, etc. There should be individual rep goals in there, broken down by product and vertical, broken down by account, broken down by decision makers, broken down by whether or not this business is coming from existing clients or new clients. And we hear this all the time, but it bears repeating that all goals within a plan have to have deadlines and be SMART goals. And what is that? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Make them SMART goals. It's critically important. So those are the 10 things that I do, that I bring to bring to organizations who have sales challenges, which, as we heard 20 minutes ago, is just about everybody in this small and mid-sized business space. Some of those 10 infrastructure components that I talked about involve people. Some of them involve process. But if you put them all together, all 10 of them, they lead to profit. And I've been doing this for 25 years, for companies of all sizes in various countries and various parts of these bigger companies. There, some regions of a business in a bigger company might have different sales plans than others based on what's going on in that particular province or state or country, et cetera. But in general, the sum of all of them need to help the company achieve their overall goals so that everybody wins together and everybody hopefully doesn't lose together. That's important. So Sam, that's basically all I've got about the horrendous state of sales in the SMB space. But the good news is that it can all be fixed, and it's, we've got the recipe, and there's ways around these challenges that I think can get them out the other side in one piece.
Thank you, Phil. Oh my goodness, I knew it was going to be amazing, and it's better than I even thought it was going to be. Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to take questions. If you guys would raise your digital hand, that would be fantastic.